Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our first ever statewide presidential election forum. This is Christian McCranca. I'm a Human Services Judge for the Department of Human Services and a steward for Local 201. I'm also a member of MAPE's Elections Committee, and the entire committee joins me in saying we're happy to have you with us today. We're living through unprecedented times. State workers always step up, and MAPE members are on the front lines helping Minnesotans battle COVID-19. We're keeping state government running. In Minnesota, we believe in taking care of each other and ensuring people in our state are well cared for and safe. 5 fellow MAPE members are running for statewide president. They will all be in the ballot when MAPE elections open on Wednesday and close on May 27th. You will also have the opportunity to vote for 2 political council representatives and many other regional and local positions. You'll have the opportunity to hear from the presidential candidates right after we hear from MAPE Executive Director Lena Jamul. Hi, Lena. Thanks for joining us. The microphone is all yours.
Thanks, Chris. Good to be with you here today. Hello, MAPE members. This is Lena Jamul. I'm the MAPE Executive Director, and I have a short announcement for you about our contract before the candidate forum begins. First, I just want to echo what Chris was saying about us living in strange, challenging, and unexpected times. I've talked to many of you over the last few weeks and want to salute your amazing, quiet determination. The work you all do behind the scenes to keep Minnesota ticking is incredible. As many of you know, the value that society places on our contract, on that work, is our contract. A $1.2 billion investment in you and the public services we provide. The legislature must ratify this contract before May 18 for it to stay in effect. I'm asking all of you to call and email your legislators, tell them about the work you do, and ask them to value and recognize your work and the public services we provide by ratifying our contract. Our contract is up on the House floor this afternoon. There is a link on MAPE's Facebook page if you would like to watch the debate and the vote. And after today, it will need to be taken up by the state Senate. So please contact your state senator this week. Thank you all for your service and be safe. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Lena. We're looking forward to introducing you to the 5 candidates who would like to serve as MAPE's statewide president. This is your opportunity to ask them questions directly, and if you're on the telephone, please hit *3 to ask your question. And if you've joined us through the MAPE website, please submit your questions through MAPE's web platform. The 5 MAPE members you'll hear from today are Local 1901's Lynn Butcher, Local 701's Megan Dayton, Local 701's Elena Shoup, Local 401's Ted Snaza, and Local 1002's Maurice Wilson. But before we hear from them, I want to update you on how the election forum will proceed. Each candidate will have 90 seconds for introductory and closing statements, as well as 1 minute to answer questions from members. Candidates will receive a warning when their time is up, and then their microphone will be muted. Welcome, Lynn Butcher from Local 1901. You have 90 seconds for your introductory statement.
Thank you, Chris. Hello, MAPE. This is Lynn Butcher, current MAPE statewide secretary. Please visit my website, lynnbutcherfor1mape.com, to learn more about me and my vision for MAPE. I've been honored to serve MAPE in a variety of positions over the past 12 and a half years, representing at local and divisional labor management committees, local and statewide meet and confers, as an active steward, in testimony in front of multiple legislative committees and legislative meetings, twice as negotiations rep for Region 19, as 1901 local president, negotiations co-chair, and most recently as statewide secretary. I now ask for the honor to serve as our next statewide president. Through my MAPE roles, I have had the opportunity to meet many of you to begin to understand the depth and breadth of the work that we do in service to the state of Minnesota, and to work with you in addressing the problems we face: dysfunction and hostility in our workplaces, a well-funded, coordinated attack against unions and all working people, and legislative decisions that have made it difficult for our contracts to keep up with inflation. More than any other time in history, workers from all backgrounds and worldviews must come together and fight for each other. That means finding ways to work together, even when we disagree about the best path forward. As president, I will use my background in facilitation, conflict and change management, and data and analytics to foster an environment of competence and accountability, where all of our members feel heard and part of decision-making, and where MAPE is able to capitalize on opportunities to strengthen our role.
Thank you, Lynn. Next up is Local 701's Megan Dayton.
Thank you, Chris. Hi, I'm Megan Dayton. I'm running for statewide president because I believe in a Minnesota where everyone can thrive. That means living wage jobs with good benefits. It means a well-funded, well-supported state workforce. It means access to healthcare coverage that is quality and affordable, and it expands who participates in our democracy. More than that, I'm running because I believe in organized labor, and the way that we build power can actually improve people's lives. Successful unions provide an opportunity for all members, regardless of socioeconomic status or race, to succeed. I've been active in state government for the last 8 years as a senior demographer in our state demographic center. My research has informed efforts to improve access to healthcare coverage, end homelessness, reduce the achievement and opportunity gaps, and increase funding for English language learners. Additionally, I create the data politicians use to make our state's budget. Through this work, I've built relationships with elected officials, community leaders, and residents throughout the state. As your president, I will take those relationships and I will continue to build on them to represent MAPE members and all Minnesotans. I look forward to having an opportunity to talk with you a little bit more, for you to get to know me and where I stand on the issues. And on Wednesday, I ask each of you to vote for me, Megan Dayton, to be your next statewide president. Thank you.
Third will be Local 701's Elena Shoup. Go ahead.
Hello, MAPE. My name is Elena Scope. We are one MAPE, but we are not one story. I'm enterprise data architect and governance in Minute Central. I've worked with the state for the past 12 years. I've been fighting for us for over 10 years in various MAPE roles, such as board member, steward, former chief steward. I consistently challenge the status quo, looking for improvements and finding ways to make us a better and stronger MAPE. We aren't being bold. We need to be strategic. There are some processes that are antiquated and outdated, and we need to include more of MAPE members in some of the decision-making process. If we're not governing effectively, we're not leading effectively. I bring a holistic approach to leadership, taking action, and problem solving, creating solutions for all. My work in the community, arts, activism, and my participation in other boards leads me to believe that this is the right time and the right moment for us to reimagine MAPE. We take action, build relationships, leverage technology and data, looking at our contract accountability and ways to support each other. I look at 3 items: leadership, governance, transparency. I look at accountability. I look at being bold and taking action. And I also look at community commitment and collaboration.
Thank you. Ted Snaza from Local 401 is up next.
Hello, fellow MAPE members. My name is Ted Snaza. A little background on me. I grew up in St. Paul, and then I went to Winona State University. I joined the military. I went to South Carolina and Texas for my training. I've lived all over Minnesota. I'm now living in Washington County. I've held over a dozen different jobs in my life, including lifeguard, church camp counselor, store manager, construction, collection officer, bartender. That's just to name a few. I've been at Revenue for 12 years and I've been at MAPE from day one, and every year I've become more and more involved. My father was a police officer for over 20 years and was president, top steward in his local. He instilled a deep sense of justice and fairness in me, and that is truly my motivation for almost everything I do. I'm extremely passionate about fairness for every MAPE member, and that's the main reason I'm running for president. In the 12 years I've been active, I've stood up for thousands of members, fought hard for those members in mediations, grievances, investigations. I've spoken at delegate assembly. I've met with legislators at Day in the Hill. I've met the governor on multiple occasions. I've helped lead classes at Delegate Assembly and the Steward Summit, and I've pushed for increased cooperation between regions. First part of my plan would be to create a culture of transparency and inclusion, increase our organization, and to eliminate all the infighting and drama that has infected MAPE in the upper levels. We also need increased collaboration between regions, and more importantly, collaboration between unions. There's no reason we can't be coordinating our efforts with the many other unions and locals in the state. All of us need to stand together at the same time and in one voice.
Thank you. And the final spot goes to Maurice Wilson, Local 1002.
Hey there, I'm Maurice Wilson. As a state employee and MAPE member of 9 years, I am running for statewide president to bring a more culturally responsive, transparent, accessible, and solution-focused community. I commit to making your mission my mission by calling upon my experience as a member of the Minnesota Army National Guard and an Iraqi vet. I will continue to defend the rights of our union. While representing Local 1002 as president, I see how powerful we are, and we need to be recognized as a pillar of the Minnesota workforce. I cannot do this without your support. Today starts a new beginning to challenge our contractual language to be embedded with the state's budget, not an afterthought. Together, we will build a community that insists on inclusivity to our members through fair wages by creating growth opportunities and demanding increased options for retirement, and introducing support stipends for our chief stewards who work tirelessly to advocate for our concerns. As a team member of the Minnesota Department of Education, I focus on innovation and community. Through supplemental bargaining, we achieved the opportunity for all MDE employees to participate in telework, one MDE Diversity Council, and professional development. As statewide president, I will bring my values of community, collaboration, and supportive communication. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Another reminder, if you have a question for our candidates, please hit *3 if you're on the phone, and if you're listening online, please submit a question through our web platform. It's now time to go to some of the questions you have sent us. The first question for all of you is, some members believe that the state has overreacted to the coronavirus issue. What will you do to deal with this issue? The first up is Elena Scope. Elena, the microphone is all yours.
So to repeat the question, some feel that the state has overreacted to the coronavirus. I guess my question about that is, in what context?
This is just a question that was sent to me. I think just people feel maybe perhaps that the state overreacted. I guess if you can give any input on what you believe, whether the state overreacted, and if so, what will you do? And if you don't believe the state overreacted, you can also answer that question. Go ahead.
I guess my answer to that, thank you for clarifying, my answer to that would be that I would first want to understand in what context. People feel the state overreacted and then work with groups to figure out what solutions we can come to address that and come to middle ground.
Is that all?
Yep, that's it.
Next up is Ted Snavza. The floor is yours.
Same question, I'm assuming.
Same.
I can see where you're coming from. With the state being shut down, it's taking a lot of money away, and that's obviously money going into our budget, which is going to affect our contract negotiations. And also, if we feel it's been too extreme, how would we take a stance on that? My thoughts in that regard are, I guess I would want to be in the room, which I know MAPE and Lena and Chet are, talking with the governor and hearing the reasons behind why they're doing everything. Conveying that to our members can maybe belay some of those fears that if people think the state is overreacting, we can put some information out there, show them what we're able to, of course, why the state is acting the way they are, what their thoughts are, what studies they're using. And I do know the MAPE website does have a lot of good information about COVID right now on their FAQ page. Thank you.
Third will be Lynn Butcher. Lynn, go ahead.
Thank you. Like Ted, I think this question comes from a place of concern, clearly. The economic impact of the response to the COVID crisis is almost unfathomable. Over 500,000, 600,000 Minnesotans are out of work. Many may be your spouse or your partner. And as we look at the impact of the budget, we see that it's going to be impacting our agencies, and that is a frightening place to be. I am fortunate enough to be working in a department that includes infection preventionists and have a lot of access to information about COVID. We have wonderful people at the Minnesota Department of Health working on this, and I would call upon them as well to reach out to fellow members who think maybe the response has been overwrought. I think I am grateful for living in a state. Okay.
Thank you. Fourth will be Maurice Wilson. Maurice, it's your turn.
I would have to say no. This touches me personally as my mom's husband, who is my mom's husband's father, who was an oncologist for almost 40 years, is now on intensive care for COVID-19. And then if I give it to my mother, I would feel deeply heartbroken as well. So no, I don't think we're overreacting. I think the state is doing everything they can in their power and to ensure that their people's health is put over money. And I believe that people's health and livelihoods should be put over money. The economic impact is seen, but yes, personally, from my own perspective and my own personal things going on with my family, I do not believe that the state is overreacting. I think they're doing the best that they can. Thank you.
Fifth is Megan Dan. Megan, the microphone is yours.
Thanks, Chris. I believe Governor Walz is making transparent and difficult decisions based on the best and most up-to-date data that are available. It's important to hear our members, give everyone input while maintaining safety. Unions have a proud history of keeping their members safe, and I am confident that he will allow us to return to the office just as soon as our safety can be assured, and that should be all of our priority. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Time to go on to our second question. The second question is, what unique experiences would qualify you to be statewide president? Lynn, you'll be first, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chris. I come from a background of facilitation of conflict and change management and of quality and data analytics. And what that really means is that I have a background of bringing people together from diverse backgrounds to problem solve, sometimes complex problems. I have a recognition that there's not one answer to every problem. And our members come from diverse backgrounds and worldviews. We are representative of the state. And because of that background that I have in bringing people together, building relationships, helping people work through and lead through change, I feel that I would be best in this position, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maurice, you're number two. Go ahead.
So for the experiences I have, I would bring back from military experience, all my leadership training, and the outreach of people, being able to outreach and actually being able to understand and relate to folks from all backgrounds of life, as working with people from all different backgrounds. It doesn't matter your religion, race, ethnicity, sexual gender, all that stuff. And I don't claim to be an expert in everything, and I am someone who's willing to learn and someone who's willing to take advice and constructive criticism. And from there on, I'm also willing to fall on the edge of the sword for anybody to make sure that we're all taken care of and we're all protected. Thanks.
Megan, you're next. Take it away.
Thank you. In my various roles within MAPE, member, steward, negotiations representative, political council secretary, I've been able to clearly and succinctly explain everything from organizational goals to specific tasks. I utilize all forms of communication from one-on-one, local or regional, and agency or enterprise-wide conversations. I also make myself readily available to discuss issues and concerns with members. I have 2 bachelor's degrees in philosophy and international affairs and a master's degree in applied demography. I've lived and worked in 4 U.S. states, Michigan, Florida, Oregon, and Minnesota, and on 3 continents, North America, Europe, and Africa. My travels and experience have given me a global understanding and diverse perspective, but more importantly, I'm a deep believer in social justice and the labor movement. And this is why I'm running for president. My radical empathy and tireless optimism are infectious. My fresh perspective allows me to see clear solutions when others are stagnated by frustration. Thank you.
Ted, you're number 4. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I think it's an excellent question because I really think our next president has to be, above all things, a leader. In my experience, a leader has a few universally true aspects of their personality. They're able to motivate and inspire people. They listen to their people, and they care about the issues that their people bring forward. They have a plan, but they won't die by that plan. They're able to change the plan, mold it as time goes on, and as they get new information and new ideas brought to them. They don't take over meetings. Instead, they guide them. Mediating them is necessary so everyone can be heard and so new ideas aren't shut out. And they aren't intimidated by powerful politicians and commissioners that they'll be dealing with. But they're also able to reach out to the other unions and to negotiate planned actions. And they take responsibility for their actions. They don't shift the blame to someone else, find a scapegoat, or change the issue to not address their mistakes. Like Maurice, I've been in the military, I've led my platoon, I've spoken in front of hundreds of people, and I haven't been intimidated when I've been put into those situations to meet with people. Thank you.
The microphone is yours.
Who?
Elena, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So what brings my unique experience is I am activist. I believe in collaboration in my work that I've done as a leader. I give space and room for the voiceless. I also feel like my unique skill set is about bringing people together, understanding that I sometimes seek out the skeptic because there's something in that. So being able to lead, you have to lead by example. And do I have blind spots? Absolutely. And I listen and I try to build upon so I can learn and grow. You have to adjust and adapt as a leader, and that is one of the main unique skill sets that I have in facilitating to action and problem solving. And you have to be able to do that in order to be a leader. You can't just admire the problem. You have to figure out how you come to solutions. And as an artist and activist, you have to come up with creative ways to do that. And so that is my unique skill. Thank you.
Another reminder, if you have a question for our candidates, please hit *3 if you're on the phone. And if you're listening online, please submit a question through our web platform. It's now time to go to more of the questions you have sent us. The third question is, what is your plan for improving public support of state employees and public service in general? So Ted, you'll be first this time. Go ahead.
Thank you. It's an excellent question. Our public support, I feel, needs to be extremely more involved. I don't think we have nearly enough media presence. I don't think we get our name out there, our brand out there. We need to be more involved in the community. We need to try to get articles written about us. We need to be more present on social media. We need to spread our word and show the good things that we're doing out there to people to increase people's viewpoint of us. That's definitely going to help us when it comes to contract negotiations or anytime we try to step forward and show our face. People are going to have a good view of what MAPE does and what we're capable of. That's just the start, media presence. There's other multiple aspects, but I can go into that with anybody on a personal level later on. Thank you.
Megan, your floor is yours.
Thank you. Negative opinions regarding state employees and public service in general are a direct and effective organizing effort of the 1%. Our work is vital, and many of us are on the front lines of COVID response and protection. I believe we need to be focused on building public support and telling our own stories rather than letting someone else determine our narrative. We saw the effectiveness of the St. Paul teachers, and this was because their contract demands were not intended for their own benefits. As your president, I will find more opportunities for us to engage with our community so that Minnesotans can see that our proposals are a win for them too. We will develop a multimedia publicity campaign targeting the general public to highlight the talent, skill, and hard work of public service. I'm grateful to live in a state with such a fantastic workforce, and I will work to make sure every resident knows who to be grateful for in a crisis, and that's you, MAPE members.
Elena, you're third. Go ahead.
Thank you. How would I increase public support would be by engaging the community, and I don't mean just engaging the community. I'm talking about being present in the community and spreading the word and coming up with a global statewide effort. So we are participating and engaging in the work with the communities. MAPE and Minnesota in general, we're so engaged in a lot of the other facets of the community and the arts and activism, but I don't feel like MAPE is necessarily on the front lines or present in those areas, and we need to one of the other candidates' point, be able to tell our own story, but we have to be present in doing that work. So thank you very much.
Maurice, you're number 4. Take it away.
Yeah, to be a part of the community is something that I think that's really important for us, is because we are, I want us to be seen as a pillar of the Minnesota workforce. And not only that, we are in the community. There's tons of, we need to start highlighting all the things. If we talk about economic justice and social justice and other things like that for all the other communities, it's time for us to actually be in the forefront of it and let people know exactly that we have kids who are part of the LGBT community. We have kids who are part of the Black community. We have kids who are part of the Jewish community. We have kids who are part of everything. We are actually in the community. So it's time for us to actually stand out and let our stories be heard, and not only just individualized, but through MAPE as a whole, to start holding those communities and showing people that we are at your local grocery stores. We have our kids in the same hockey teams. We have our kids in our same basketball teams. We're doing so much. It's just a matter of actually getting our names out there and being shown. And when it comes down to that stuff, again, we're working to. Oh, sorry. Thanks.
Thank you. Lynn, you're 5th. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chris. I think along with every other candidate, I have the same idea. It is about community connection. When we talk about there is a coordinated attack against workers, and particularly the state workforce, because of the good that it does for every Minnesotan. And we need to partner with community organizations that are working on the issues that affect Minnesotans that we see as part of our public policy work. It involves getting out there and actually working on community initiatives, and then talking about it from the frame of a public policy worker. How does this impact Minnesota? How does this strengthen Minnesota? To let our neighbors and friends know that it's not just about greed. We're not fighting for a fair wage just for ourselves, but for every Minnesotan to have a better quality of life. It is more than just an ad campaign. We have to live the connection to our communities and then be able to speak to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's time for question number 4. And question number 4 is, the state deficit is growing, which will probably lead to furloughs and or layoffs. So how will you fight and advocate for us against these possible layoffs? First up is Megan. Go ahead.
Thanks, Chris.
Megan?
Yep, I'm here. Thank you. I believe we need to fight for contract enforcement. That's the most important thing that we can do here. It's the key foundational pillars of our unionism. Our state employees are on the front lines of fighting COVID response, and we need to get those stories out, like I said before in my previous answer, to make sure that we are able to tell our own stories rather than letting someone else define our narrative for us. Thank you.
Next up is Maurice. Maurice, the floor is yours again.
Yep, we're using our contract language and then also getting our stories out there showing that what we're doing behind the scenes, it can be from deed to human services to everything. Like we're doing the work to make sure that Minnesotans are taken care of right now. And yes, even if there's a deficit coming up, we still have to ensure that we as MAPE members and state employees across the board, everybody is taken care of. When it comes down to the layout stuff, hopefully we can work something out and make sure that people are taken care of on the long run too, that they come back right after if things do happen. I don't want to say things are. So it's just a matter of taking care of ourselves and taking care of each other and being there for each other. But first off is getting the contract language taken care of and making sure we enforce that, and then it goes on from there. Thank you.
Third will be Lynn. The microphone is now yours.
We must forcefully and publicly stand up for every single MAPE represented position. MAPE represented positions make our state a better place to live. We did not create this crisis, nor did our fellow workers. This happened to us, and we should not bear the brunt of fixing it. There is money in our society to pay for the continuation of the state services that we love. And we need to make sure that we are making those connections for people, helping them understand that shared sacrifice means everybody shares in that sacrifice. It means the people who have been hoarding money and who have been making money off of this crisis give that money to the continuation of the betterment of Minnesota. And I will take a public stand to advocate for that and advocate against any attempt to reduce quality of life in Minnesota.
Fourth will be Elena. It's your turn. Go ahead.
Thank you. That's a great question, and absolutely I would take a stance because Minnesotans have sacrificed a lot. And when I talk about MAPE members, I also mean Minnesotans as well. I feel that we need to take a strong stance, but I also feel should that happen, that we should also make sure that we have a strategy to help our MAPE members, because if they're furloughed, there's not a whole lot that can be done in that moment, and I feel like MAPE also needs to step up and help those members. But yes, absolutely, I would fight, and I would take a public stance in that. But I would look at opportunities at how we can help our MAPE members to soften the blow. And I definitely agree with Lynn on making sure that we can find funds elsewhere to make sure that the MAPE members are supported financially and economically and strategically. And we should do continuity planning so that we're on the front line. Thank you.
Fifth is Ted. You now have the microphone. Go ahead.
The sad truth is our power has weakened over the years. That's going to be step one. We need to increase our power. By doing that, we need to increase our active events. We need to increase our collaboration with other unions. We need to get as many people out there as we can so that we are seen. The last time the state had a recession and shut down, MAPE sacrificed. We took 0% increases. I believe we didn't have a step increase one year. And when it came time for the state to pay us back, it didn't happen. That can't happen again. We have to pressure the DFL to be on our side in negotiations. We need to have as many events as possible, as much collaboration as possible in order to get what we want passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Time to go on to our fifth question. And this fifth question is, what are your goals for the first 100 days of being president? Maurice, you'll be the first. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
The goals for the first 100 days is reach out to all the members to get an idea of where we actually want to be, to create a plan for diversity and getting growth opportunities and increasing pay for members, and then making sure that equity is also available for members when they first step in. so people of color aren't paid at a lower rate than their counterparts when they first start. So first 100 days would be equity, and then inclusivity would be next, including everybody that is a part of MAPE, and then including people outside of MAPE as well, other unions and things like that, to get people working together and to get a community-based function out there. So we actually are part of, so we're seen as a community. And then it would probably have to be the pandemic relief stuff that's coming up, because who knows when, no one knows when it's all going to be over with. So that has to be in the first 100 days as well as the coronavirus relief stuff, and ensuring that there's a proper transition back to the workforce and it's not just rushed. Thank you.
Elena, you're number 2. The microphone is yours.
Thank you very much. So for the first 100 days, the very first thing I would do is I would focus some time on leadership, because, again, if we're not governing effectively, we're not leading effectively. We would also look at what we need to be strategically, what can we accomplish as MAPE in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. So we would have a plan so that we can prioritize, and that would include listening to the voices of MAPE members and those that probably haven't been at the table. So having a strategy to invite those to be a part of how we develop those things that need to happen. But if we don't address the leadership piece first, then everything else is going to be kind of a moot point. So you need to do top-down and bottom-up work, and those are the things that I would focus on, because we need to start healing. We need to look at ourselves as one MAPE. Thank you.
Ted, you're next. Take it away.
Thanks. Yes. I don't know if any of you have dealt with it before, but a supervisor walking in immediately started changing things, changing how everything's done, upsetting the apple cart. I've always hated it happen. So for the first 30 plus days, I would immerse myself in MAPE Central, and I would see how everything's done, how everybody is working, what they're good at, what they're not good at, and I would build a plan around that to see where we could improve things, where we can improve organization, where we can improve data analytic collection, where we can use that sort of thing. And then great board of directors and the staff there, I would help start to implement those things. I would take their ideas and change the plan. Moving forward, let's see. After that first 30 days, you'd pretty much have to implement your plan. Start on the top down. You'd have to start talking to as many people as you could and getting more influence from MAPE members, including that. Oh, thanks.
Liz, you're number 4. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So I think that the first priority for whoever takes over is going to be the COVID reaction and the impact that it has on our members. And so I anticipate a lot of time will be spent working with our executive director and our board of directors on the best path forward to ensure that our members are protected and that we are negotiating the best deals we can for those who are impacted. Beyond that, I would spend the first 100 days getting to know each of the regions and locals. And so doing a lot of outreach, talking to every regional director, particularly the new ones, to find out what their idea for our union is and our priorities, and interacting at the local level. What are the barriers? What are thoughts that people have? And in improving the engagement and input into our strategic plan. After that, what I would be doing is looking for metrics for success so that we can measure our actions. Thank you.
Megan, you're 5th. The microphone is yours.
Thank you. It's true that we're entering a reparative phase, but MAPE members, I believe we can't rest for a moment. Much of my work over the first 100 days as your president will include COVID response, but I see this as the perfect opportunity to build our power and put pressure on management. So my first 100 days in office, I would like to meet with our existing leadership, determine why much of our progress has stagnated and contract language been ignored. Depending on how our contract progresses through the legislature today and over the next few days, this could also be a poignant opportunity to demand a voice in budget decisions rather than waiting until those decisions have been made before we begin negotiating a new contract. Thank you.
We're now going to member question number 6. And this question is, how will you reach out to members who live in greater Minnesota and who do not work or live in the Twin Cities? Ted, you'll be first this time. Go ahead.
Thank you. Reaching out to members in greater Minnesota, I think, is going to best be done by going out and meeting them face to face. At every opportunity I could get, I would go out to local meetings, general membership meetings, and I think it's really important to the president needs to put their face out there, and they need to listen to the people and address their concerns. And if they don't have an answer, get their information and get back to them with those concerns. I would say presence would be my, I guess, answer to that. I can't stress that enough, how much I would be out there at meeting every single person that I could. Thank you.
Lynn, you're next. The floor is yours again.
Well, as a member from Greater Minnesota, I appreciate this question. I would, like Ted, I would reach out to those members. But one of the things that I think that we've learned from this crisis is that we have the ability to engage via virtual meetings. And I would like to increase our use of virtual meetings to ensure that people from Greater Minnesota can participate in our efforts and collaborations. One of the things that people don't recognize is that in order for someone to come to an after-work meeting, if you're in Greater Minnesota, you've got to take vacation that day, and you often don't get home till 10 o'clock at night. And so if we can leverage the technology that we have to ensure that people's voices from Greater Minnesota are being heard, I would absolutely do that. Like Ted, I would reach out to every area of the state to make sure that folks are bringing their thoughts forward and incorporating them into decision making.
Maurice, you're third. The microphone is all yours.
All right, for reaching out to people, I believe in technology should be the best thing that can be used. I also believe that every local should be given a go-to meeting paid for by MAPE as well. That way, in a go-to meeting or a Zoom account, that way everybody can still be in touch and everyone can still be more involved. Also, I would love to go out and travel and talk with people and see where things are and see what we can do to improve things or to even help with technology needs, or just to basically see what other members are saying or what other members are talking about. Right now we're showing the world and we're showing Minnesota what we can do with technology, so the barriers are getting knocked down, and I do believe that we all should be using some type of Zoom, GoTo, Google Meets, whatever else out there that we have available and we have access to. And that's just one way to communicate with people. Another way to reach out is to come up and go down south, go up north, go wherever, and talk with people and meet face to face. So I guess I would have to second that as well. Thank you.
Megan, you're number 4. Take it away.
Thank you. So much of my work as a demographer over the last decade is focused on Greater Minnesota. I've written several reports and even authored the first chapter on demographic change for the Center for Rural Policy and Development. So not only am I well versed in what change is looking like in Greater Minnesota, but I also realize that our rural members are underrepresented among leadership in MAPE. Recently, we've all embraced technology in a way that we never thought possible. It's my firm belief that this will be a great equalizer for society. We've had several meetings lately on the digital platform, and I think we just need to keep that going. Thank you.
Elena, you're 5th. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I would do twofold. One is in-person post-COVID-19, hopefully. The second part is, while we have been using and leveraging technology. I also feel like we need to look at how we expand the bandwidth so that it is better in greater Minnesota. That informs and changes our policy. Also, we need to make sure whatever technology that we use is accessible to all. So all of the platforms that we're using aren't necessarily accessible, whether that's caption and so forth. So we need to make sure that we are thoughtful about what technology we do use. I also want to make sure that I am present as president where I'm accessible to greater Minnesota. So having monthly or quarterly meetings, town halls, I think is also an important way to engage greater Minnesota because we don't get to talk to them enough. And those are my ideas. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. It's now time for everyone to give closing statements. You'll each have 90 seconds for this. We'll reverse the order from the opening statement, so that means Maurice is first. Maurice, go ahead.
Sorry, I had to mute myself. So I just want to conclude that I want to bring a more culturally responsive, more accessible, more transparent union to us all, and by getting us in front of the community and bringing us together as one. As Governor Walz would say, it's one Minnesota. Well, I believe it's one Minnesota means everybody. So our union should not only just work with MAPE, we should be working with ASME, we should be working with teachers, we should be working with nurses, we should be working with SEIU, we should be working with everybody that we can possibly work with to get ourselves a better contract, but not only a better contract for us, but a better well-being for the state of Minnesota and all their citizens. If we have the numbers, we can actually influence the legislation, and we can actually influence things as we are saying that we're all wanting to be the best that we can be, but we want the best for all Minnesotans. So that includes healthcare, equity, diversity, inclusivity, and with your vote, I would hope to bring that to you guys and bring that to Minnesota in general. Fighting for equal rights across the board, doesn't matter where you come from and who you are. Thank you.
Ted is the number 2 spot. The floor is yours, Ted.
Thank you. Hello again, MAPE members. I'm amazed at the amount of organization and data collection ideas that haven't been implemented by MAPE. Those type of things could greatly increase the available information for our members, help protect our members, and like I said before, increase our presence in the media. I think in the past few years that Tofan, our VP, and Chet have done a decent job of helping our website grow and get some of those ideas I mentioned started, but there's so much more we can do, and there's so much more we have to do if we want to survive as a union. I've seen commissioners, legislators, governors, and directors walk all over MAPE members at every chance they get. And I've watched as occasionally MAPE has taken a very passive stance when it comes to protecting our members in regards to our contract, our rights in the workplace, and researching new ways to increase membership. Make no mistake about it, we're entering a long recession with budget instability, and our next contract negotiation is going to be extremely difficult, probably the next few contracts. We have to change the way we approach negotiating, prepare for every situation, and coordinate better with AFSCME to combine our tactics. The person we vote as president has to be able to stomach making those tough choices. Not everyone can do that. In fact, the real power of the president doesn't come from the president. It actually comes from the members, and the president helping those members, getting those members to activate. I've learned and sharpened all those leadership skills in my decades of various jobs, speaking with every type of person imaginable, from the homeless to renowned linguist Noam Chomsky, Kirby Puckett, employees of mine, door knocking for Obama in 2008. The place I learned it most was from my grandmother. Please contact me. I'll tell you all about her. She's amazing.
Next up is Elena. The microphone is all yours.
Thank you very much. I am asking you for your vote as your next president. I want to make sure that we're working on a couple of key areas here. One, around our contract accountability. I agree that there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but I look at the wage disparity law, Minnesota Equal Pay Act statute, section 181.66, where we're not addressing that. We also need to look at protecting our members that fall under the Minnesota statute 43A08, unclassified permanent employees. Our seniority roster has all but been ignored in our Article 15 of our current contract. We need to also make sure that we look at the grievance process, Article 9 of our contract. We're not serving our members. We need to build a stronger and better MAPE so that we can support our members. And as your leader, I would be honored to do this. I also feel like we need to make sure that we're leveraging data. As a data architect, you use data to make decisions. Cloak and promotions via reclassification is an example of how they're not, and we're not holding the state accountable for this, and this does not serve our members. MAPE has done a lot of wonderful things, but we still have work to do. I am honored. I will be honored to be your next statewide president. I also feel like we're on the precipice of making change and reimagining our union. Thank you.
Megan, the floor is all yours now.
Thank you, Chris. I've experienced firsthand what it's like to be dismissed and told that I couldn't do something because of my age or my gender or the choices I've made that shape who I am. I've had bad bosses where I dreaded going to work, and I've experienced the deep insomnia-inducing fear that I wouldn't be able to make payments. I want to be your next statewide president because I've also had the rare opportunity to experience high-level union leadership and have seen how practicing solidarity can speak truth to power and move the most powerful influences to act in service of the greater good. I want to collaboratively lead our transformation into a more effective, powerful union. I want to use my energy and creative problem-solving skills to make not just our union, but our world a better place. We need to keep inspiring new leaders to join us, and we need to make a space for our members to act on the things they care about. We look to the future and imagine what it means to reject the status quo. We look to the past and take heed of the lessons passed down from the giants who came before us. This opportunity for change and fresh perspective, it's the best recruitment tool any union could ask for. I've been a MAPE member for 8 years, but active for only 1. My candidacy represents a new beginning, a fresh start for an organization ready to embrace the uncertainty of the future. Vote for me, Megan Dayton, because I believe I'm prepared to build on the labor movement within MAPE as your president, and I can't wait to watch our power grow. We will water the grassroots. We're going to open the front door. Thank you, MAPE.
Lynn, the microphone is all yours.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for all who have listened today. Thank you as well to the other candidates running this year. It speaks to the strength of our union to have so many come forward to lend their talents and their vision to make MAPE a more powerful voice for state workers and for all of Minnesota. We are in unprecedented times, and MAPE must recognize that our fight is not with each other. More than any other time in history, workers from all backgrounds and worldviews must come together to fight not just with each other, but for each other. Anti-worker forces are united in their desire to use this crisis to slash government programs and beat back hard-fought advances in worker rights, and we must be united to meet that challenge. This crisis gives us an opportunity to shape our workplaces in a way we have never had, to bring innovative and creative solutions to long-standing problems and ensure that our fellow Minnesotans are supported by competent and responsive government. For the past 12 and a half years, I have been honored to fight with and for you for more respectful and inclusive workplaces, to ensure our lawmakers have an understanding of the work we do, to ensure our contract is enforced in the workplace and that due process is respected, and to expand the voice of labor in Minnesota. I now ask for the honor to serve as our next statewide president. Please visit lynnbutcherfor1mape.com and please vote for me starting May 13th. Thank you.
This wraps up MAPE's statewide election forum. A big thank you to all of the candidates who participated today, and thank you to all of you who listened to the forum and sent in questions. MAPE elections take place May 13th through May 27th, so make sure you vote for one of the candidates you heard today for statewide president. You'll also be able to vote for 2 representatives for the political council, along with many regional and local positions. Thanks again for listening in, and thank you for all you do for Minnesota and MAPE. Have a good rest of your afternoon and stay safe.